assistance session, which deals with unlocking trade and investment for European companies in Bangladesh. Since I took leadership at Dhaka Chamber of Commerce and Industry, a thing that I was not happy with at the very beginning, because this area is very new to me, coming from a different profession. But when I saw the FDI figures and what other countries like Vietnam have achieved, I think there is a lot of scope for Bangladesh to really gear up, if I may use those words, to gear up to bring more FDI into Bangladesh. Although we have noted that there was an increase in the foreign direct investment last year, but $3.44 billion compared to our potential is not that significant. And now we have a very active, if I may say so, BIDA chief, Mr. Lokman Mia, who has transformed the face of BIDA, I would say. And the complaints that we hear from our foreign investors regarding the top message being pro-investment friendly and the bottom-end officers not being as investment friendly as they should be, I think BIDA, I must say, is an exception under the leadership of Mr. Lokman Mia, because I also cater for foreign investors. I help them set up companies here in Bangladesh. And the amount of assistance that I have received, not only from the BIDA chief, but also from their, I would say, the junior officers, is actually highly commendable. In fact, customs has always been an issue. And a smooth running customs is very much needed for not only foreign investors, but also for local investors to operate their business in a smooth manner. I know we are short of time, and if I start talking about problems and opportunities, this will probably end up tomorrow. But at this point in time, I have the pleasure to invite Mr. Ziaur Rahman, who is the regional country manager of H&M, to provide some guidance for European fashion wear companies to establish their business in Bangladesh and to explore the business potential of Bangladesh. Ziaur bhai, over to you.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much. It's a real pleasure to be here. When I was listening the earlier session, I was just thinking, what should I talk? Because we didn't invest here directly. But we play a very, very big role because we source a lot from here. So our role is a little bit different than the others. And for that reason, I think if I talk about our whole supply chain, it's roughly 300 plus suppliers that we work with. And then, okay, on a Bangladesh context, it's the single largest buyer that we are. But if I talk about from H&M perspective, I think this is one of the most the supply chain that we operate, that we are so proud of. Because after Rana Plaza, what had happened, the way the whole country have shifted from there to now is really something that we can really, really proud of. So I can proudly say that Bangladesh is a safe sourcing destination for the textile industry, and we are very, very proud about it. Well, so that's only one part. If you talk about the way the world is not functioning, and now this 2030, 2040, all the climate ambition that coming up, that makes us really, really nervous. Because till probably, last 2-3 years, it was a little bit of a voluntary work that, oh, you should be carbon positive. How do you reduce the carbon emission from the supply chain? What can you do? How much you use the renewable energy? But from there, now it become a mandatory. So there is a law coming up, is ESPR, which is eco-design regulation for the textile industry, and potentially 2027, which is like a couple of years now, there is a cap coming up that you are shipping here to Europe. There will be a carbon cap. And if that happen, when I look at the sourcing that you do from Bangladesh, the first question is, are we ready? Where will we end it up after this? I think this is an area we are really, really struggling. We can say that we are not the most polluted country in the world in terms of CO2, but then we will be one of the countries who are really, really significantly affected, because it's going to affect our business as well. and it's not widely, we're not talking about it. I must thank Mr. Tipu Munshi. He, I think, couple of months ago, sir, visited our head office, meet with our CEO as well, and we talk about there as well, this renewable energy and electricity as well. I will just, put it one more time that the present regulation and the policy that we have, today's cases, all the electrifications and the renewable energy, even with that, this PP, the power purchase agreement, it is possible to do that, a shifting from a dirty energy to a renewable energy. So that's one of the major struggle I see we're gonna face. When I got the invitation here, I supposed to talk about the graduation of the, the country. And I thought that this is where I need my more BGMA guys here. And thankfully we have Miran Bhai here. Of course, our Honorable Minister was a BGMA ex-president as well. So I will not take a very long time. If you look at this $44 billion that we ship out of Bangladesh, 78% comes from 5 categories. So product diversification is a must. Otherwise, we will always complain. The price goes down. We didn't even touch the other part of the, the business opportunities, which is probably China, Vietnam, all the Far East countries are doing. So I will stop it here. Maybe I will let others to talk now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Rahman Ziabhai, for your valuable comments. I think you're absolutely right to point out that product diversification is absolutely key, especially as we graduate out of being a least developed country. Mohammad Mushtaq Ahmed Tanveer, who is the Vice President of the Bicycle and Parts Manufacturer and Exporters Association. We all know that European Union is one of our main destinations of sending bicycles. And please enlighten us as to how European companies can actually benefit from investing into this sector or manufacturing bicycles in Bangladesh for onward export to the European Union. Over to you.
Assalamu alaikum. Honorable Minister, distinguished guest. To answer your question, I think I'd have to go back to how we, very briefly, how we have evolved, the bicycle export has evolved in Bangladesh. I mean, beginning in the late 90s, and then when we could import only 40% and 60% plus had to be made in Bangladesh, where we were struggling because we were just beginning to make different bicycle parts. And then 10 years later, 2011, when European Union changed it to 70%, we could import, and 30% value addition, 30% plus value addition could be enough to get the GSP. So that made it really easy for anybody to, come into, because European market for bicycle is huge. And when this 70-30 thing came in, that's when more local, until now, mostly local investment in the bicycle industry for export to Europe happened since like 2012, 13, 14. And then the good thing is already European company, like a big brand like Cube, who is like top among the top 5 brands in Europe and manufacturing in Europe, they extended their facilities in Bangladesh as a joint venture. So it already speaks about, the opportunities that lies in Bangladesh for in the light engineering or bicycle sector. And beginning with that part, the Cube investment for bicycle, it also triggered other investment like getting the quality level, for Cube level of bikes. So that triggered more investment in different parts of bicycle. And you'll be happy to know that in Bangladesh now, there's a joint venture investment for carbon frame bikes, which, is quite expensive. And that gives more opportunity for the European big manufacturers to come in, because they mostly deal with carbon frame bikes, aluminium bikes. And when you can get them in Bangladesh, it's easy to get GSP even after 29 when we graduate, and after 29 when if we could get the GSP Plus facilities. I think it's a big opportunity, and not only in bicycle. There are opportunities in bicycle parts, e-bike. From Bangladesh now, a lot of e-bike are being exported, and the difference with e-bike and regular bike is the battery and the motor. So I think there could be investment in battery, and in terms of market share, e-bike is eating up a lot of regular bike market share. So e-bike is increasing like anything in the European market. So that is a big opportunity to have a battery setup, lithium-ion battery setup, or motors for e-bike, because this is increasing like anything. And I'm sure in terms of sustainability, in the long run, bicycle, electric bike is the mode of transport for our European buyers. And going forward, I think for the GSP Plus situation, I think we have to make sure we as a country to have to ensure that we have clean energies, carbon neutrality, waste management, everything in control. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tanvir Bhai, Mr. Ahmed, for your valuable comments. I think you've picked up pretty well on the e-bikes. Climate change is one of the top priorities of the European Union, and during my time in Brussels, I had a lot of conversations regarding this whole climate change issue. And investment in batteries and setting up such similar e-bike manufacturing factories is going to be absolutely crucial. And because our government is also very hands-on with this climate change, if I may say so, I think there is a mutual interest to work together between the European Union and the government of Bangladesh to promote e-bikes in order to save the climate, which is also on the agenda of the European Union. Now, it's my great pleasure to invite Mr. Miran Ali, the Vice President of BGMEA, probably one of the most knowledgeable Vice Presidents of BGMEA and most certainly well-dressed and Managing Director of Misami Garments. Miran Bhai, given your extensive experience in the RMG industry, could you please share your insights about how the adoption of sustainable practices has brought about positive results for European companies and Bangladeshi RMG manufacturers? And also, I know that the European Union is very strong on improving our labor conditions. If you can also enlighten us as to what steps are being taken so that we as a country can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, and a very good afternoon, Honorable Minister, Excellencies. I must start by saying that the European Union is our single most important trading partner and the single most liberal trading partner that we have in the world. The EU's EBA scheme has allowed the garments business in Bangladesh to flourish to an extent that would have been unimaginable without it. During this process, our industry has gone through a complete evolution. What was present in Bangladesh 10 years ago and today is completely different. We are today the most transparent supplier country in the world. This is a very important issue when we are considering the EU due diligence legislation, which is being rolled out across multiple countries. Germany has already done theirs. If you are a German company, you have to now really verify your supply chain. And Bangladesh is the country which is the most prepared to address this challenge, more so than any other country in the world. Secondly, we are also a country which is very proud to have the highest number of LEED certified factories in the world. 8 out of 10 of the highest rated factories in the world are in fact in Bangladesh. We are also among the leaders of rooftop solar installations, thanks to the government's net metering legislation, which has gone through a couple of years ago, it is now viable for factories to put up solar power where almost 60 to 70% of the entire factory's electrical requirement is coming from renewable sources. We are, again, the leaders on that. And in fact, I'm very happy to say that there's almost an arms race between factories in Bangladesh to see who's going to put up the bigger rooftop solar. The biggest one was in Chittagong. Recently, another one in Dhaka became the biggest one. There's going to be another one after that. This is a positive development for our industry. The final point I want to make is that unlike most other countries, and I happen to know this because I'm the spokesperson for a group called the Sustainable Terms of Trade Initiative, the STTI, which represents 10 exporting countries in the world, China, Vietnam, everybody else, etc., representing over 75% of the global apparel industry. Bangladesh is unique because the BGMEA has a unique role in this country. We have a unified trade body which is working with our government in a productive manner to try and make improvements which are necessary to keep our country competitive. Most of the other countries, whether it's Indonesia or Pakistan or India, they do not have a similar trade body which is able to synergize for the long term with the government. All these factors together have resulted in Bangladesh's industry being one which we can proudly say will be probably the second biggest in the world, unfortunately, but second biggest still for years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miran Bhai. It's always encouraging to hear positive comments from people in the industry itself. And as you rightly say, Bangladesh is most prepared to address these issues relating to climate-friendly environment. And most importantly, Bangladesh is willing to address these issues. That is very important. Not only preparedness, but also the willingness of the government to take Bangladesh forward. LEED certified industries and factories, obviously that is our pride. We are the world's largest producer of LEED certified factories, if I'm correct. And rooftop solar, it's a need of the hour as more and more the energy prices are going up due to this whole Russia-Ukraine war. I think it's time that we adopt alternative practices which is going to keep the cost low. At this point, may I invite Russell T. Ahmed, President of BASIS, which is the Association for Software. Russell Bhai, could you please explain how European firms and companies can leverage trade and investment opportunities in the IT sector in Bangladesh, especially relating to software development and freelancing due to our low-cost sourcing? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Samir Bhai. A very good afternoon to Honorable Minister. Am I audible? Am I audible now? All right. Thank you, Samir Bhai, the respected Honorable Commerce Minister and the eminent guest. Very good afternoon to all of you. This panel here, we see a good diversification. We have a representative from garments industry, which is RMG, and we see leather, bicycle, and IT. So talking about diversification, thanks to Samir Bhai and Dhaka Chamber, that he brought the diversification in the panel too. Well, as you all know, the export earning is so important for a country like Bangladesh, considering the dollar reserve issue and others. And whereas 84% of our total export comes from one single sector, credit goes to RMG sector, but at the same time, it's not a good news for the country that single sector dependency is too high. So naturally, we need to bring up new sector, creating new potentials. In this particular area, we believe that ICT has all its potential to be probably the next RMG from Bangladesh. Whether you talk about even for our ICT export, if you look back in 2009 when the Digital Bangladesh Vision Declaration came in, we used to export in total about $30 million worth of ITES to the rest of the world. Today, from 2009 to 2022, we export about $1.4 billion. The question remains, yes, we have done very good from 2009 to 2022, but the question remains, does it give us self-complacency? I would rather say no. We could go even farther. Even in the Smart Bangladesh task force, which is headed by our Honorable Prime Minister, I also sit in that task force, and we have our Commerce Minister here, that the first thing we should do, the journey from 2022 until 2041, that we have to look back what we have done, how far we have done, what we have done right, what we have done wrong, because in this period of time, we have our big neighboring competition, big brother India, who does about 126 billion. But at the same time, there are other competitions too. If we talk about Philippines, if we talk about Vietnam, and there are a couple of Eastern European countries that are also coming up, like Poland, Estonia, and all. So therefore, we have to do things very right. Today, out of our $1.4 billion export, 34% goes to US. Second, 13% goes to UK. 12% goes to different European nations. And finally, 8% among our top 4 destinations, 8% goes to Japan. So there are challenges, there are opportunities. Among the European countries, we are only doing good in mostly in Netherlands, some bit of in Germany, and a couple of Nordic countries. There are many other big countries like France, German. We were not able to do good. Sometimes we see that two things missing. One is the right, appropriate branding of the industry, and the language barrier as well. So here I'd like to share a very good example that BASIS has executed. With Japan back in 2016, we realized Japan has a very big market, but the Japanese language and culture has been a biggest roadblocker. Then we formed Japan Desk with the help of JICA, JETRO, and a couple of Japanese universities. We launched Japanese language training in BASIS. We launched Japanese cultural training in BASIS. And today, from 2016 to 2022, Japan became the 4th highest export destination for ICT industry. Approximately 84 companies are exporting in Japan. And most importantly, last year, JETRO had a survey among the Japanese companies who outsource from different parts of the world. And Bangladesh name came on top in that survey that they want to continue business with Bangladeshis. So similarly, we can actually do variety of programs. In recent past, we made a visit to UK, few of the European countries and US and Japan too. And what we have seen, that's the opportunity. That the sourcing they're actually doing from, mostly, obviously, they're actually sourcing from India, but 90+% of the large companies are desperately looking for alternate destination to India. Now, what we see, that Bangladesh name comes into their mind with RMG and our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Her face is Bangladesh. But when you come one step down to private sector, so ICT branding is missing. What we notice that probably one European company I'm working, my business is growing every year on year, but his or her best friend doesn't know about Bangladesh. So this is where actually we need to work on, that someone is doing fantastic in Bangladesh, but his next door neighbor or his best friend, probably he's also or she's also doing IT business, doesn't have any clue about Bangladesh. So this is where we need to work on. And with one statistics I will share, and then I'll share that what can be done. So I'll end up then. Only US has 3 million people shortage now in the sector of ICT. European Union ambassador is sitting here, has 1.5 million people shortage. UK has 1 million, and Japan has 8.5 lakhs. So that indicates the opportunity is huge. If we can tap 10% of that is our study, or even 1% of the total market demand, Bangladesh has all the potentials to reach up to 20 billion by 2031. So we have shared a formula with the policy owners, the stakeholders. This is probably not the right forum, what policy we have, or formula we have shared with the right authority. But three things I would expect from this forum, since I see a number of European faces here. The first thing is there are a number of joint ventures are already in Bangladesh. I can name Sweden Bangladesh joint venture is here, Denmark Bangladesh joint venture is here in the ICT, Netherlands Bangladesh joint venture. So there are a number of joint venture is a possibility. And then let's not forget that European technologies are ahead. Sometimes we see them, those technologies, they're actually utilizing much higher critical technologies comparing to even US. So we have noticed some of the European countries have HR Academy in India. Something similar to that, HR development can be a joint effort. That's what we are doing with Japanese universities and Japanese companies. Something similar to that. So other than joint venture, that's directly business. And then having an academy, I welcome any of the European nations to come into Bangladesh, so we can then help you. We have 25,000 ICT professionals coming up every year, but they have to be ready for the European technology, what they are practicing. So that is the second thing can be worked on together. And the third thing is help us branding ICT industry. We'll not let you down. Bangladeshis are doing tremendous. Just one simple example I finish here, that one of our Bangladeshi companies sitting in Uttara developing the US aviation system security solution. It's very, very critical. So if we compare with India, we know we have quality resources, but we have lack of quantity of quality. That's why we focus on not in volume at this point of time, rather on quality product. And we don't compromise with pricing. When I say this, we offer cost-effective pricing. And the number of critical examples I can keep talking and talking and talking that good things being done from Bangladesh will not let you down. So let's do joint ventures. Let's do joint venture or jointly giving effort in making human resource ready for European market. And thirdly, help us branding Bangladesh ICT sector in your part of the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rasul Bhai. I think you've said it very succinctly and aptly that ICT branding is absolutely crucial. Not only ICT, just Bangladesh branding as a whole. Although we're doing a good job, but more work needs to be done. And with the right leadership, I think we can take Bangladesh forward. As basis under your leadership has taken this great value job, I believe, which is language training. I was not aware of that, and thank you personally for taking that initiative, because if language is a barrier, then that will be a barrier to increasing trade and investment. As you rightly pointed out, that much more can be done with France and Germany. And perhaps maybe you can have a language training for French and German language as well. And tapping unexplored market is absolutely crucial. And that's why Charles and I, when we designed this seminar, we had that in mind as well, that there's a lot more that European Union and Bangladesh can do together. Not only in the ready-made garment sector, hats off to that, but also in the IT sector, the pharma sector, as well as the leather sector. And we have our leather king here, who I'm going to pass the floor on to, Mr. Syed Nasim Manzoor, a man who needs no introduction. Everyone knows him. He's been talking about Bangladesh and branding Bangladesh for many, many years, since his hair was not so white. And he's the managing director of Apex Footwear and president of LFMEAB, the leather, I believe it's the Leather Manufacturing Association. Yes, the Munshis, as he rightly calls it. Nasim Bhai, given the substantial role of the leather goods industry, could you please tell us about the salient features of our leather and leather sector that the EU investors could take into account when deciding whether to invest into Bangladesh or not? And any other comments that you want to add? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair of today's event, President Barrister Samir Sattar, Honorable Minister, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, fellow panelists, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity. As I think Rasul Bhai said very clearly, that this panel shows you that Bangladesh is already diversifying beyond just garments. Garments is a game changer for us and always has been. and has set the tone for what is possible. But I think what is possible in Bangladesh is more than garments, and we are very proud of that. I'm going to pick up on something that Miran Ali said, and I think it's very important. I think that the EBA, the Everything But Arms initiative from the European Union, has been the game changer for Bangladeshi exports. And I think we should actually acknowledge and just take a moment to realize that. A very good friend of mine recently told me that, a European friend, that the European Union is a tried and tested friend of Bangladesh, has been and will be. And I think we appreciate and we recognize that, and we look forward to deepening that relationship beyond just the narrative of development. I think the time has come for us to talk more as partners rather than as recipients and donors. Samir's asked me to talk about the leather sector, which I represent very proudly. The leather sector is one that is, I always call it the sector of so-called unfulfilled potential. We've been hearing for decades, as he said, when my hair was less gray, about how much we were going to do and how well we were going to do. And we've come a long way. And I think part of the problem is, again, as my previous two speakers have said, in many cases, Bangladesh has a great product, but we don't know how to market that product as well, whether it's IT or bicycles or leather. The narrative for leather in Bangladesh is Hazaribagh, which is closed, but which was at one time, unfortunately for us, one of the most polluted spots in the world. From there, we've shifted. It's an ongoing process. The Ministry of Commerce is deeply involved. BIDA is deeply involved. The Honorable Principal Secretary is deeply involved. The Prime Minister's office is deeply involved. And I'm proud to tell you that the highest rating for the leather industry is something called the Leather Working Group, LWG. And we have LWG Gold tanneries in Bangladesh. We have LWG Gold certified factories in Bangladesh. We have brands such as Timberland, Picard, Michael Kors, Puma, just to name a few, producing and sourcing sustainably from ethical factories in Bangladesh. So I think the first fundamental fallacy that I would like to address is that leather itself is not polluting. Leather is produced in polluting circumstances. Just like plastic doesn't have to be polluting, plastic can be managed. And I think the government of Bangladesh, because we are blessed with almost 1.7% of the global livestock population, cows and goats, we have tremendous raw material advantage. Look at what we've done without having cotton. Look at where we've gone, and we've got all this raw material and we can't transform that. A mention was made by Ambassador Charles of Vietnam. And it's very sad, I agree with him, that the FDI stock of the EU into Vietnam is so much bigger than us. Ladies and gentlemen, there are more Bangladeshis than Thais and Vietnamese combined. What are we ignoring here? You're ignoring a market. So when I talk to our European partners or when we go to them as business, the first thing we say is, have you realized there's a little market here called Bangladesh? There's 165, 167 million consumers who we estimate about 32 million, what we call MAC, middle and affluent class, who can buy Movenpick ice cream. Some of them, like some of my friends here, can buy BMW cars. Some of them can buy Perrier as well. And then there's one great brand, which I must tell you, which I have loved, and this is a little bit of my Italian bias, is Pedrolo Pumps. For some of our recent ambassadors, this is a great company who came here, I think, maybe 25, 30 years ago. The amount of CSR that they did, the amount of work they did in a community, it was something as simple as a water pump. And it was known throughout the length of Bangladesh and breadth of Bangladesh as the best pump. The cheap Chinese competition couldn't compete with Pedrolo because they had service, they had plant, and they invested in Bangladesh, which leads me to my point. We need more European companies to invest in Bangladesh in manufacturing. I think that is my personal approach. If you look at localizing the supply chain now, that is the global trend. Make in Bangladesh for Bangladesh. I think that's where the opportunity lies. Second opportunity is make for the regional market. Bangladesh, thanks to the great work done by our Honorable Prime Minister and the Ministry of Commerce led by our Honorable Minister, we have duty-free, quota-free access still to almost 3.5 billion people on the planet. So let's make it Bangladesh, sell to India, sell to China. Those are the two biggest markets in the world right now, right? You can sell to Korea duty-free. We can sell to Australia duty-free. So you're not looking at it just for the local market, which is huge, but also for export. I think the other point that I would like to talk about is actually the connectivity to the global value chains, right? These are all fancy terms that consultants get paid a lot of money every time there's a new supply chain, now it's GVCs. But very simply, as Miran and I and all of us who work in export, we are at the manufacturing, we are at the, shall I say, the low end of the food chain. Where is the fun part? It's at the brand and the distribution. So you've got European partners who possibly need investment, who need capital, who need know-how. We've got the manufacturing capabilities. Why don't we allow these trans-border alliances to happen more easily?
Yes, there is a foreign currency problem right now, we all know, but this is temporary. This is not going to be there forever. So we would like to see encouragement of Bangladeshi companies being allowed to invest out, to purchase and invest in supply chains and distribution channels outside in Europe. And we also want to see European brands investing in the supply chain. This is where, yes, certain big brands will not do that, but I see the middle-sized companies who are the power of Europe want to do it. What's missing? Knowledge. What's missing is they have a lack of confidence in Bangladesh. And as we heard in the previous panel, the good stories don't get told. Let's talk about the good stories. British American Tobacco, even though it's a product that we don't necessarily want to promote, their factory in Bangladesh is the most productive factory in the world. They send people to Poland to teach people how to run a factory. Coats Bangladesh, which makes thread in Bangladesh, is the most productive in their entire group. One of the most sustainable leather tannery groups out of Germany is now looking at setting up operations in Bangladesh. So you're telling me Bangladesh is not sustainable? Yes, there are opportunities. Yes, there is room to grow. If you look at the ESG part of it, right, as Miran said, I love it. It's an arm race to who can be more green. Great. Are we getting the right price for that? No. I was talking to my friend the other day. Where is the green fund? Where is the money to do all these conversions? It's costing us hundreds and millions of dollars, which, by the way, we're buying European equipment. But I don't know how to get that money. I've tried for 20 years. I've given up now. So we need a little bit more transparency on how this funding can happen from the European Union. Last but not least, I think in terms of the other opportunity is the apprenticeship vocational educational system. I really want to stress this in front of our Honorable Minister and our Executive Chair, that I think, with all due respect, we have more than enough private universities in Bangladesh. We lack technical skills. We lack now food technicians, lab technicians, X-ray technicians. We lack people in retail. I see my friend Thala here nodding his head. We want to give people money to do visual merchandising. Now, the reality is, ladies and gentlemen, it's almost competitive to hire someone from the south of Europe to come and work in Bangladesh. And I'm not going to name the countries, but I know. Because the salaries we pay, by the way, are not low anymore. So where is that training happening? Why can't we set up these training institutes, visual merchandising, food, safety, health, retail, and I can go on and on. Floor manufacturing. My friend Jan is here from the German embassy. We had a great visit the other day. We need such a lot of help in industrial engineering and productivity management on the floor. These are opportunities for European companies to invest, not to give us free. Nothing is free. There is no free lunch. Unless you're giving us a lunch afterwards, we'll see. That's not free. You're making me talk for the lunch, right? Honorable ministers listening. I think we need European investment in skills transfer and technology. We've seen a lot of companies come and go from other countries. I won't name the country. It's been very sad. And I recognize the BIDA chairman here because, sir, if you can incentivize this, you need to make it easier for companies to set up service companies. All the JVs don't necessarily have to be manufacturing. Service is a big role, and my friend here from Basis, Russell Bhai, has already mentioned that. Last but not least, I think, as Ambassador Charles said, the relationship between the EU and Bangladesh is much more than just trade. It's much, much more than just investment. It's based on people-to-people connection. We have historical ties that go back for centuries to Europe, right? There's a word in Bangla called Olondaj. It's actually from Holland. It's the first Dutch people who came and landed here. It's amazing, the stories, if you do a little bit of research, the connections to Germany, to France, to Italy, to Spain. I'm not going to name everybody in the EU, but you know what I mean. So the point is, I think there is such a lot of goodwill for European brands, European practices, and a shared belief in certain principles. Which brings me to my final point, ESG. Now, we all know that the government of Bangladesh is moving forward in terms of, we moved from the 27 to the 32 requirements, which is for the GSP Plus. Now, there are protocols and there are conventions where we are more advanced. There are conventions where maybe we have a lot more work to do. But I can assure you that from our sector and from the private sector, we remain engaged. We believe that, with the support and with the understanding, and most important, with the belief that we receive from the European Union, we're on the right track to continue this relationship for the next couple of generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Nasim Bhai. Always a pleasure to listen to you. 4 points that I picked up, just to recap. I like the tag, Make in Bangladesh for Bangladesh. I think that can be a new tagline for Bangladesh. You're right that we provide a good value, supply chain value, and we need to target the more middle-sized companies in the European Union, which is which are the powerhouse, basically, as you rightly say. The third point is, where is the green fund? I think that's important, and I leave it to our European friends to address that or think about it, because even when I asked my co-panelist that whatever Nasim Bhai said, he gave me a good nod, said yes, we need good prices. Obviously, these things cost money. It's important that we get the good price as well. Lastly, which is very, very important, I think it's on the highest priority agenda of the government as well, which is skills development. As we graduate, I think no matter what we do, the man behind the machine is very, very important. TVET education, technical and vocational educational training, we need to focus on that, upskilling, reskilling, no matter how many fancy words we use. But the main thing is, we need a development of our human capital, and we need more skills development programs to train our youth going forward. We are graduating in 2026, and we need to be prepared. With this note, I'd like to thank Zia Bhai again, Miran Bhai, Mushtaq Bhai, Russell Bhai, and Nasim Bhai again for giving us your valuable time and comments. I'm sure this will all be put together in a note and sent to the relevant ministry as well as to the various missions here, the European missions, and then we can perhaps work together to take this forward. Thank you very much. And with that, I close this session.